Hey parents, today I'm going to talk about the executive function trifecta. I'm going to show you an infographic to explain it to you. Today is day 3 of 10 days to TEFOS. So that means we have 10 days until TEFOS, but it's day 3. So I believe we have less than 8 days until TEFOS. So hello parents, teachers, therapists, coaches, anybody who's interested in supporting kids with executive function challenges. Your kid's brain is developing, especially the teenage brain, the prefrontal cortex, the frontal lobe, around year 15 or so. It's just developing so incredibly fast right now. But your child's brain is developing. This part of the brain that helps them to execute important tasks is developing. So we're going to talk about the executive function trifecta. What the heck does that mean? So I'm going to show you this infographic here, and I'm going to explain this to you so that you can really understand it. What the executive function trifecta, the way that this is going to help you understanding this is that there are many different coaches out there. And as far as I understand, I don't know of any coaches that were executive function coaches before I was an executive function coach. I've been doing this a long time. I've dedicated my life to it now. They're a dime a dozen, but when I started doing this, this wasn't a thing. And this was really born out of my passion for supporting students who had executive function challenges, like I did when I was a child. And I think that passion is in large part, if you saw yesterday's 10 Days to TEFOS video, in large part born out of I cannot stand to see kids suffer when they don't have to, when we know we have tools. So, over many years of doing this, I've developed a lot of models over the years, a lot of approaches to supporting students, and a lot of things that work that actually help these students. And in large part, the way that I was able to develop these is because I went through myself. And when I work with students, I see what works and I can really understand what they're going through because I went through this stuff. But I want to tell you about the trifecta so that you can take this information and use this model to apply it to the kids you are trying to help, whether you're a therapist or a parent or a teacher or a coach or a tutor or whoever you are. If you have a kid that you care about who has executive function challenges, I want you to have a decent understanding of how this works. Now, as I said before, there are many different coaches who do things differently, and there are so many people doing such good work in the world for kids. I do not care if you use my model or not, or somebody else's, or if you adapt mine to your own way of thinking. Mine is just a jumping off point. You should be skeptical of mine. You should be skeptical of everybody's. You should never take anybody's advice, parenting advice, and advice about how to help kids at face value. You should always look into it and investigate it and critically think about it. Having said that, I've put my heart and soul into creating this, and hopefully it's a model that you will resonate with. Either way, take what you like and leave the rest. This is my model. So the way that I framed it here is sometimes I'll frame it as the executive function trifecta. In this case, I framed it as the executive function coaching trifecta. If I'm working with kids, I'm not going to talk about that aspect of it. But for you, I want you to know how I coach. So what the trifecta is this is the 3 domains, the 3 areas that I believe we need to address in order to help a student create change. So this is what I want you to imagine. You have a student at point A. It could be your child, it could be your student, it could be a client, whatever. They're at point A, and we want to get them to point B. Point A is this child, and it doesn't matter if they're a young adult, it doesn't matter if they're in kindergarten. They have legitimate executive function challenges, and you are concerned about these challenges. They're developmentally in a different place from their peers as far as executive function is concerned, and they struggle with these things like organization and planning and time management and emotional regulation and prioritization and things like this. And you want to be able to help them. So how do we get from this point A where you're concerned to point B where they have decent executive function? Not perfect by any means, but it's decent. It's good enough. It's to a point where they've turned a corner. Things are not perfect, but they've turned a corner. How do you know they've turned the corner? Sorry, I'm wincing here. I have an extraordinarily terrible back injury that is absolutely flared up right now. But so I'm going to ice my back in a little bit, but I'm in a lot of pain right now. Excuse me for wincing. So get my executive function back on track because pain does interfere with my executive function. All right. So back to this. So we want to get from this point A to point B, and we want to turn the corner. We want our kiddo to, we know that we have turned the corner as the adult because we can breathe a sigh of relief. So what I've heard parents say year after year after year is this. My kid's going to be okay. Like there's a certain sense of relief that a parent has when they know their kid's going to be okay because they have good enough executive function. Not perfect, but it's good enough. They know their kid has turned a corner. They're going to be able to create a future life that of their choosing, where they have freedom and choices and possibilities in their future. So, how do we get from that point A to point B where our child has turned the corner? How does a coach do that? And how can you use these principles? So, now that I've given you the foundation, the background to this, there are three areas, three domains that I work in. And I call them mindsets, systems, habits, and routines. Mindsets, systems, habits, and routines. So I am going to coach a child in those three areas: mindset, systems, habits, and routines. What the heck does that mean? Well, the mindset I want to talk about first because that is where we have to start. I would say 90+% of the kids that I work with, when I start working with them, they are resistant to their parents' help. They're resistant to my help, their teachers' help. They do not want help. They want to do it on their own, but they can't do it on their own. So there's a disconnect between the reality that they don't have the skills that they need and understanding that this is about skill building. But they have an unrealistic belief that, oh, I can just figure it out if I try harder. It's not about trying harder. It's about skill building. So mindset, the mindset that these kids often start with is the resistance mindset. Why do I have to do this? This is stupid. I don't need this. I've got it. I can handle it. I can do it on my own. Leave me alone, mom and dad. Stop bugging me. Why don't you just trust me? These sorts of things. And so the mindset is a mindset of, you know what? This is hard. I don't know where to start. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't need planners. I don't need to organize my folders. I don't need to advocate for myself and talk to my teachers. I don't need to check my grades. I don't need to do my homework early. I can do it last minute. I don't need to start that project early. I can do it the night before. So it's all of these resistances that hold them back from being able to build the skills that they need. So that's the mindset that we're often starting with, that the vast majority of the kids that I work with are starting with. So the first point of business then is to get some buy-in and ownership, is to get the student to feel like, hey, this is for me. It's not for my parents. It's not for my teachers. It's not for Seth. It's not for anybody in this earth. It's for me, for my life, for my future. Now, when you're a kid with executive function challenges and you don't have the greatest future thinking, that's hard to do sometimes, but that it doesn't matter. That is still what we are doing. If you don't address the mindset issue and you start coaching a kid, then what happens is you often create resentment. You often get a lot of pushback. You often make the relationship have more problems where your kid doesn't feel as close to you. They want more distance from you. They don't feel emotionally safe around you. They don't want to be honest and forthcoming and tell you things, especially once they become 12, 13, 14 years old. They start not thinking of you as the coolest person in the world. And all you used to be this awesome, cool person they looked up to. And all of a sudden, you know nothing about life is what they think when they start getting around that age. But you're at a point where buy-in and ownership is really needed. So if you want to help your kid, if you want to give them systems and habits and routines, and you want to help them so bad, and you want to explain to them, and you want to parent explain to them, and you want to lecture them, and you want to nag them, and you want to convince them, it's not going to land because there's no buy-in and ownership. So that is where we're starting. As a coach, I am starting with mindset. I am starting with mindset to know that I'm at a place where there's enough buy-in and ownership from the kid that I can start moving them forward. Now, we keep coming back to mindset over and over and over because even if I've been working with a kid for multiple years, and I've worked with kids for 5, 6, 7 years sometimes, so I've worked with kids from when they're in high school to when they're young adults even. So when that's the case, there's obviously still resistance in areas and there's still mindsets to work through. You as the parent, me as an adult living on this planet, I have resistance and mindsets that don't work for me. I have more abundance mindsets or more positive mindsets or more not limiting beliefs, less limiting beliefs and stuff like that. But I'm still human. You're still human. But ultimately, when we're working with kids, we are going to be working with mindset initially when we start working with them. And then we're going to keep working with mindset because the resistance doesn't just vanish. It continues to pop up and rear its ugly head in all sorts of different situations. But we always want to come back to that compassionate and empathetic work around mindset and getting that mindset to be a mindset of, hey, I own this. I got some buy-in. I can accept help. I can overcome my resistance. I can do these things. This is for me. It's for nobody else. It's for me to have a great life, to be able to create a life where I can contribute. All right. Number 2, systems. So now there's some buy-in and ownership. Your kiddo is willing to receive some help, whether it's from you or from somebody else. They're willing to accept it. They have a little bit of value for it. They see how it can benefit their life, how it can save them time, save them energy, make them less stressed. And now they need some systems. What does that mean? A backpack is a system. It's an organizational system or a lack of organizational system. A folder is a system. It's an organizational system for papers. A backpack holds papers, folders, books, and supplies, and maybe other random things like 6-week-old sandwiches, which I know some of you have seen, and the things I've seen pop out of backpacks is pretty crazy. A planner is a system of organizing time or managing tasks or being responsible for the things that need to happen or whatever, however you want to look at it. But a planner is a system. A daily plan, the daily plan methodology that I teach is a system for planning the day in a way that works. A locker is a system for essentially organizing and storing stuff, school stuff. A desk is a system. It's a system, it's a place to be able to focus without distraction. That is what I call the sacred study space, but that is what a desk is for. I'm sitting here at my sacred study space. This is a system. I have my laptop, my mic, my lighting, my guitars, and my plants, things that bring me joy in my sacred study space, pencils, my little brain model. So systems. Our kids need systems. Fortunately, there is a concrete number of systems. It's not rocket science. There are 7 core executive function systems that I teach. And the good news about the systems is that these systems turn into the systems that kids need to do adulting, to have a career, to have a life, to manage adult life. So fortunately, these systems are what they need anyway, as far as executive function skill sets. Then, last but not least, we have habits and routines. How many times have I heard a parent say, but my kid has a planner, they know how to use it? Well, if they have a planner and they know how to use it, but they're not using it, then they don't have a habit and a routine. So what good is the system? My kid knows how to do their homework. That I've seen him do it before. I've seen him be able to. Yeah, but they don't have I have a 4-step homework routine. They don't have a homework routine that they can articulate. This is my routine. They don't have the habit and routine. It's chaotic. It's random. It's hit or miss. That's not a system. They don't have a habit, or that's not a habit and routine. They may have little bits of a system, but it's not solid. Okay. My kid has a backpack, but they just jam everything into it. Okay. They have a backpack, but they don't have a habit and routine for managing the stuff and maintaining it in a meaningful way. So to recap, we have mindsets that say, this is for me. I can do this. I may not like it. I may not want to do all this stuff, but you know what? I care about myself. I'm going to give it a try. Let's do this. I want to make life easier. Then we have systems, the systems and structures that we put into place to be able to navigate school, to be able to navigate life, to be able to organize, plan, all the things. And then we have habits and routines. We have got to practice using the mindsets, and getting through the resistance when it comes back up. And we have got to practice implementing the systems consistently over time so that it becomes a habit and routine. And one of the talks with in TEFOS this year with Jessica McKay from How to ADHD, she talks about manual versus automatic and the car metaphor. But imagine when there's a habit and routine, we don't have to be in manual anymore. We can save a lot of energy because we're in automatic. That's a great metaphor for this. When we have the habits and routines built and they're in place, then the parent is able to be like, okay, my kiddo has turned that corner. My name's Seth Perler with TEFOS Executive Functions Summit.com. This is our site right here. You know that probably because you are probably registered. So this is where is it? Right here. This is the homepage here. This is where you registered. It's where you can check out the speakers. Click on this and you'll see the bios about all the speakers. But if you like what we're doing, we put our heart and soul into creating this for you. This is where all the speakers are. Sorry, my internet is being weird right now. There we go. And then you can click on them and you can learn about the speakers by clicking on that. But also, we have a VIP pass. We have an early bird sale if you're watching this before TEFOS. And we have an incredible VIP pass for you if you want to upgrade to that. I will see you in less than 8 days at TEFOS 25. I'm so excited to bring this to you. Please share this with your friends, share it in your Facebook groups, and pop it anywhere you can to help us get the word out. I'm going to bed. Have a fantastic day. I'm going to ice my back and rest. Be well, everybody.